Welcome to What Are You Even Talking About, the podcast where we talk a little bit about everything. Today's guest is Kim O'Neill. She provides authentic confidence coaching, custom meditations for strong, heart-centered women who feel they've lost themselves and would love to reclaim their authentic, vibrant self, feel empowered again, and learn how to self-lovingly move forward. Kim is also the host of let me see, the Inspirational Everyday is a New Day show, an award-winning three-time Amazon best-selling author, certified ICF and law of attraction coach, specializing in authentic confidence, interview skills, and law of attraction. A Reiki master, former crime analyst, and the creator of the Let Your Light Shine movement. The Every Day is a New Day podcast and live show has featured movers and shakers from the White House and national TV to awesome everyday people who exhibited inspiring strength in overcoming their own adversities. Kim believes that when you shine, our world shines. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you, Mark. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so we'd like to start the show with a question from the last guest. They get to ask whatever question they want without knowing who the guest is. So your question is, how often do you listen to your inner wisdom in regards to your the various situations you face in your life?
Oh, that's such an excellent question. It's so perfect for me because it's been deepening even more lately. And when I say lately, somewhere in the last 6 months to a year, in that range. How often do I listen to my wisdom? Often, very often. I have gotten to a space where I can recognize, this is something I've been building up over years, is I've been tuning into, okay, I have this thought, this is what I feel, this is what was going on in the environment at the time, and what decision did I choose? And so many times in the past, and years ago, I would recognize that, I had that first thought and I didn't trust it. And so, by reverse engineering it and looking at like what happened, what was playing out, and starting to get more in tune with the very subtle whispers of what my inner voice is telling me, has made it become a lot more a smoother process where I get a sense about something and I go, okay, yeah, that's what I'm being told. And I just take the action. So often, and it's good. I'm glad. More peace.
I think a lot of people, with age comes that wisdom to trust yourself more and, trust your intuition, because usually we're right. And it's hard when you don't listen to that, and then you end up in a place that's worse off than if you'd have just listened to that voice. So yes, I definitely am feeling the same.
It
I've
can
been
be
going through
really,
that myself.
yeah, it can be really easy to beat ourselves up over, oh, I knew that, or right, I was gonna say that, I was gonna do that, and then we second guess ourselves, we doubt ourselves, we choose logic over inner wisdom, and that's not to completely, classic out on logic. It has its place, but our inner wisdom is absolutely something worthwhile tuning into. So
I agree. I agree. So how do we work on being more authentic? I mean, I think it's easier said than done usually, but I would like to know, how do I work on my authentic self more?
I love that you're asking that. Thank you. So I agree. I think it's one of those things that sounds so simple. And what it initially brings me back to is when people say, just be yourself. Okay, here's the thing. But what if you don't know who you are? Right? How do you be yourself when you're not fully sure who you are? And well, that can also be a loaded question, because to me, I think we are so many things, and we can make it a complex answer. We can make it a simplified answer. One of the core elements of tuning into who our authentic self is, I believe, is really learning how to recognize what we're feeling when we're feeling it, and what is that emotion telling us. And so that might first require, I mean, if we've gotten to a space in our life where we've already had a certain degree of heartbreak or, challenging situations where, we've, right, let life kind of like throw us many curveballs. We
Yes, it
might,
does.
yeah, the phrase that I've been hearing a lot lately is, life be lifing. And it is,
It'd be life, and it'd be life,
yeah,
and I agree.
yeah. So when I coming back to the emotions, if life has been lifing for a while, then we're probably going to have to start with just simply like tuning in and healing, healing from some of the things that we've already been through and we may not have processed. I'm like many women in the world who, you've had some situations, maybe certain people weren't in your life and you thought they were supposed to be whatever, whatever. And you say, you know what? I'm going to be strong. I'm going to charge through. I'm okay. I wasn't as affected. And what do we do? And I'm just using this as a female example, but this can apply to anybody. We can all say that, right? This thing happened to me. I'm going to be strong and it's not going to get me down. And there's a place for that too. But are we in that process closing ourselves off and not really being present in the process of that? So here we are trudging through life, kind of blocking off walls to things that we've experienced, that now are going to be these emotions playing in the background of all these decisions we try to make moving forward. And so it's kind of like if you've ever seen one of those memes where like a person's climbing up a mountain, but they're carrying that big bag of whatever, like a Santa bag of presents, right? Something big with them. And it's like, it's harder to go forward when you're lugging all this stuff around in the background. So how do we be authentic? Learn to tune into your emotions, feel what you got to feel, process stuff. And then as you clear out the old, it becomes a lot easier to hear more of what's going on in the present and start trusting it more easily. So hope that answered your question.
But yes, yes, it does. I know in my own life, it's been hard to deal with a lot of trauma and pain that I went through as a kid. And, you don't really deal with that when you're a kid. And it all comes out once you become an adult. And then it's hard to live. Life be life. And, it's so many things that can happen that can just mess up your day that it becomes hard to look within because you're always worried about so many other fears and threats coming at you. At least in my case, that's what it was. And it makes it hard to judge anything authentically. And
It
not
does.
judge, but, just how to handle certain things. And it made it that much more difficult to be okay with things. So, like, I got to a point in my life where I started to become okay with things. And slowly but surely, I felt more myself of, whatever myself is. And I feel like a lot of people have trouble finding out who they are.
I love that you're bringing that up. I completely agree. I think when we've had things at whatever age, because absolutely tons of things happen, in our childhood, but also things can happen as we're adults. So, I don't want anyone listening thinking that, if you had something major and traumatic happen in your 30s, 40s, and it threw you a major curveball in your life, this applies to you too. But it's absolutely when you've got those things that have happened in your life that created fear or contributed to fear or whatever, and you're in survival mode, then research actually shows, and I've studied some of this, research actually shows that, especially in the teen years, when we're acting from the space of survival mode, then that's where all our brain resources are going towards. So right at the prime time when you're supposed to be learning who you are and your identity and figuring that out in your teen years, if you're actually having to be more in survival mode, then that identity piece may just, you kind of leap over it. And so does that mean it just automatically clicks into place? No, not necessarily. We might form an identity that doesn't truly resonate with what feels right for us, because what feels right for us is peaceful. That's going to
Yeah.
be, yeah, it's, so it's, that's why I say it might have to be kind of like a reverse engineering thing. Like, okay, like maybe don't so much focus on the, way back past, unless that's what's showing up in the present. But it's like, what's the big emotion that's showing up right now? And it could be the current heartbreak or trauma, or whatever you've experienced. It could be a compilation of a bunch of things. There was a time in my late 20s when I had a friendship breakup, which was devastating on its own. But in the process of just experiencing how it was unfolding, I realized, oh my gosh, this is also going back to my divorce and how painful that was. And it's also going back to my dad not being present when I was a kid. So it was like everything all happening at the same time. And it was like, oh crap, what do I do with this? So, it can be big.
Yeah, I mean, and it is so many things it can be, like literally, and like putting it all together just makes it seem insurmountable. Like, but we can get through it and we can work on it slowly. Because I know with me, it took 40 years. Like I'm 40 now, and it took that entire 40 years to gain a sense of self and to not harbor grudges and be angry at things that happened before or even in the present. Like you have to get to a point where it doesn't phase you to a degree of just breaking you.
Yeah.
And I know with myself, it was hard to get to that point, but I'm enjoying life now far more because of it. And I'm getting, the places I want to go to and doing the things I want to do because I looked inward and I tried to build myself up to get the things I really wanted and break away from what I thought I was because of things that happened to me.
Good for you for
So
doing that.
yeah, it took a lot, but now I get to do this. So it's my way of helping, and I love it so much. Tell us about your books because you have multiple books
I
written.
I do. Yeah, they're all co-authored books. Yeah, and what I love about them, well, it's interesting too. This is a side note. They all have the same color cover. Like they all are in the same color scheme, which is odd to me. I don't know. This is a side thing. But
That that's interesting. That's very interesting
yeah,
because that's not normal. That doesn't happen often.
no, because they're all different. It's not like they're all with the same group of people or the same publisher even. They're all different. And so it's like when I noticed that, I was like, okay, there's something going on there. So for anybody wondering, it's the colors blue and orange predominantly. One of them's more blue and white. But yeah, the first one is Positive Minded Speak. They're all long titles, by the way. Positive Minded People, Inspiring Stories of Overcoming Adversity and see, now I start to forget, and living a positive life, something like that. Then the second one is You Are Loved, an inspired meditative visual journey. And then the third one, Navigating the Clickety Clack, how to live a peace-filled life in a seemingly chaotic world. So they're all along this range of you know having the experience of healing from whatever you've been through, coming back to that space of, okay, this is what I'm going to choose to think and believe about the situation. This is the meaning I'm going to make of it. And this is who I am. Reclaiming that power and you deciding who you are. And I heard that through what you were saying. You've been through things, and you're at 40, and I've also heard a few people say that, and I wish I could remember the quote. There's a Marsha Weeder quote that says something about, you do the first part of life just kind of, I don't know, and this is me paraphrasing. This is not what she said, but it's something to the effect of, the first half of life is you, dealing with the stuff, right? Dealing with all the stuff. And then the second half of life is you finally living your purpose because you've hit that mark around like your 30s, 40s, where
Yeah,
you start to say, no, 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 this is who I am. This is what I choose for my life,
yeah.
and be on that journey. So yeah, that's how I see it.
Okay. So how do we live a peaceful life in our chaotic world?
There's could be so many different answers to that, but I'm going to say it's right along the lines of what we were talking about earlier about it, taking that moment to deal with what is in the present, like what's showing up for me right now. It does not have to be complex. It's like, what is the current challenge? What is the current heavy emotion that's showing up, or what is the current question that maybe you keep pondering? Look at that and get clear on it. So journal about it, meditate on it, talk to yourself about it, talk to God or your spiritual team, whoever you talk to, start to work those things out. Because when we don't, if we've got a thing that's kind of just like stirring up in our brain or our emotions, right? And it can be both and all jumbled together. If we just let it sit there, then it's just going to sit there. It's remembering that, okay, we are the human. We are the one who gets to make the choice here of like, what is this and what am I going to do with this? And yes, this thing happened and it elicited this feeling and this jumbled up mess in my head. And now I'm oh man, I'm thinking about the things that things that may lead you to believe things about yourself that aren't true, that may lead you to somehow think you're unloved or unworthy or not good enough, whatever all those limiting thoughts are. And if we just let them sit there, then they're just going to sit there and they're just going to fester and they're going to get worse. It's like that whole thing of like sweeping things under the rug. And eventually you've got a big mound. And if you don't pay attention to it, you're going to trip over it. And so when we can remember, wait a second, okay, I do have power. I'm going to choose to look at this. This is not going to overcome me, but I'm not going to say I'm bigger than it and I'm just going to ignore it and try to move forward. Instead, I'm strong enough. I'm going to look at it. And by looking at it, I can sift through the mess that's here and find the truth. And the truth is always going to be something that brings us back to a space of peace. And is it going to be the leap from chaos to peace? No, it might be. I choose to believe that everything is possible. But I want to say that oftentimes I think it's, from chaos to grief, to hopelessness, to frustration, to anger, to, well, maybe, to, and then maybe seeing that someone else did it and it's possible for them. And that, right. And then, okay, then, well, let me try that one thing. And, and you find your way through it. And so it's choosing to look at it and to move through it in the way that feels right for you. So that's how I'd say.
I I feel like I used to tell people if one human can do it, we can all do it. Like once it's shown that it can be done, then at any point any of us could choose to do the same thing. And that really opens up a world of possibilities for people, and some people who don't even think they have a chance to do something. But we're all human, and that literally makes it, if one of us can do it, all of us can. And I feel like if you put in the effort, you can literally achieve anything, because that's where our minds take us. Our minds take us to infinity. Like we can think anything. So
Yeah.
because we can think anything, we can do anything. And I feel like that opens it up for people to do more and better for themselves. I feel like it's one of the main things that keeps me positive in the world. Like, is just, I'm so excited about that fact. And it lets me get to the point where I can achieve the best things I can. And it's just amazing. Um,
That's awesome.
how do you think support works into the authentic self? Do you think it's, how can I put this? Do you think it's important to have the right support?
So this is this ooh, I just got to take that one in. Man. So support. So to me, this has been a what's the phrase? This has been like a I don't know, this is not quite the right phrase, but a pivot point in my personal journey. Something I've really had to weed through myself. I think support is, I mean, it makes a huge difference. The trap with support. So, okay, so if we're talking about support, like, do other people support me? Is that like, do other people support us in
Yeah,
our life? Is that
yeah,
okay? Okay.
yeah.
So if we come from that perspective of it, are other people supporting me in my life? The trap, and I empathize with anybody on this because this has been one that I've fallen into. The trap is to just kind of be stuck at, they're not supporting me and therefore I can't do anything. I can't do what I want to do. I can't be who I, feel I am. And it just stops there. Right. And
Yeah.
that's and I do think that is kind of common, because I think, so there's no shame in that. The thing is, the trap is when we only stay there. That's how I see it. So support is critical because it helps us in moving forward. Let me say this, because I feel like I'm kind of all over the place in this one. I recently did an interview with someone, and one of my panelists said something that really struck home with me. I was doing a show on dreams that have come true, people who have just, they've they've really manifested these like big dreams for themselves. It was so inspiring. And I think I posed the question to everyone, what helped you accomplish your dream or something like that. And one of the panelists, and I'll just name her, Sherry Elise, she said something to the effect of, I've done a great job surrounding myself with supportive people. So now with that, so you may be this person in life who you're moving towards your dreams and you feel like you've got a good support network. And as you continue to move forward and take all these steps, you may start to realize that people around you don't actually support you like you thought they did or you thought they would. And we could look back and say, well, that's because when one person starts to change, it has a ripple effect on other people. And other people start to have their own experience with things, and they might not be resonating with whatever you've got going on. And of course, this is just one experience of the support journey and how it impacts someone in being who they are in the world. But I know many people can relate to this. So what do we do? Do we try to cling on to those people? Do we try to make them, stay with us and support us? We might, and yet you might also realize that that's going to simply slow you down. It's going to create more heartache. It's going to make you feel more depleted and less abundant, less energized in doing your thing, because maybe you also start to water down what you do because you're trying to now people please and keep these people around you so that they do support you. So that's not really the best path. The best path is to continue to be you, do your thing, move forward, and know that other people who are in alignment with what you are doing, with who you are, how you're showing up, they will show up and support you along the way. But now we've been talking about people, and I posted something the other day about human love moves, but spiritual love stays. So if we're talking about what's our best form of support, it's always going to be our spiritual team. And again, whatever term a person uses for that, it's always going to be your spiritual team. So that's where that inner work comes in, of like you being good with you aligning with you again, talking to God, your angels, your spirit guides, whoever it is, your crossed over loved ones, whoever it might be, but really tuning into that source of love and light and alignment and truth for you, and allowing that to feed you. And I also like to do some energy work of grounding my energy, and I have some visualization things that I do to support myself, because I also say, well, how can we expect other people to support ourselves if we aren't supporting ourselves first? So it's looking at what are we expecting of others and are we not doing for ourselves. So comes back to self-love. And so anyway, I know this has been kind of a loaded question because it's been a big key one for me I've had to work through. But yeah, I don't even remember your original question now, but hopefully that
So
Oh,
I asked that question because support's a big message for me. I too have had a lot that happen with support and the type of support I receive and the type of support I give myself. Like it's been trying to do things my own way because I'm always worried about what someone else is going to think or how someone's going to say something to me because I did it this way and not the way they chose for me to do it. And it became a point to me where I started to think that, everybody needs personalized support. And personalized support is, from other people and to yourself.
yeah,
Like you have to see what works for you and do those things. And with growth comes losing people because usually you're not the same person once you grow, and that's not the person they want in their life.
yeah,
And you can really tell who's got your back and who doesn't because of when they drop off. Or, if they support you all the way through, or if now that you're not doing things they want you to do, they don't want to be around you. And it lets you know that fact. And, it can hurt, but we shouldn't slow ourselves down or stop doing things. And I know with myself, I would realize that the person wasn't actually supporting me. And they were just there to use me in some fashion, or they didn't care about my actual growth, because seeing that I was growing, they would get madder and madder. And I was like, I don't understand why you're upset if I'm doing better. Like, and
Yes.
you can just really weed out your support that way. And I feel like we all should look closer into the people we have around us, because of the fact that not everybody is there to be supportive. Like, they can push you to do better, and they can push you to move more like forward, because they don't want you to. And it makes no sense that you would think people would be like that. And it's like, I'm trying to grow. Why are you mad? And you can find that in anybody. It can be family, it can be friends, it can be literally anyone in your life. And you would just be surprised at who's there for your growth and who wants the best for you. And a lot of times it's not the people we think.
I agree. And I love that you shared all of that. I relate to all of that. It's yeah, so yeah, people are going to fall away, and I think that was one of the things that it's like I'd heard about that as I had been moving through my journey and doing coaching classes and all these things. I had heard about that, but it took a while for me to actually spot it in my own life, because I still did not expect it. I wasn't expecting the people who had been in my life for decades to
Yeah.
no longer be there anymore, or to like become someone that I now have to like, oh, I now need to be careful what I share with you. That was very unexpected, and unexpected. And I kind of put on some armor then towards them, and it was it's a whole journey. But I wanted to go back to something you were just saying is it. And there's another famous quote. Anyway, all these quotes come to me, and then I like half remember them. Um, there's the one about people can. I might have this one correct. People can only meet you as deep as they've met themselves. Right. So
Yeah.
it's if you've been doing all this inner work, if you've been working through your own stuff, and you're getting to a lighter and more aligned space within you, but they haven't yet, that it's going to bump up against some things that they still have to work through within themselves, and they might choose to do that, they might not choose to do that. And so and then it brings in also, I want to say, the abundance versus lack mindset, because there can be people who think that because you're doing your own thing, which is just purely about you being you, doing your, living your life, right, to the best of your
Yeah.
ability. Other people can even start to adopt the mindset that you're somehow maybe taking something away from them, when it's like, no, 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 there's enough for all of us.
Yes. Yes.
I'm not taking anything away from you. And so it's kind of like, okay, it challenges them to, choose to start to recognize that there's more for them too. And do we let that slow us down or not? And so we might have to choose to love them from afar, or just, shift how we interact with certain people.
Yeah. And sadly, that's going to happen. And it happens more than you think, usually. Um, and I think it's hard to get, around it, because it hurts us so much.
Yeah.
It's a pain that hits you here, and you're just like, I thought you were with me, and I thought you had my back. Like, it's all these I thoughts, and it's painful, and we just don't realize it until, we've looked back and we're like, look how far I've made it. Look how many people fell away. And it just hurts.
Yeah.
It's a thing that hurts so much. I have to ask this question because I'm very interested in this, one, because of my ex, and two, it's a very interesting field to be in. You were a an analyst?
Yes, I was a crime analyst. And now let me clear. Well, now you just said something I'm curious about because of your ex. Okay, I want to know what that's
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Um, well, do you want to say something about that?
She liked crime stuff.
Oh,
She liked
okay.
anything about crime. And I thought she was insane. But besides that, I felt like she needed a crime analyst. Uh, but besides that, that's why I asked, because I know
Okay.
she would ask that question.
Well, a lot of people ask that. So the first thing I want to clear up for anybody, so there's a difference between a crime scene investigator, which there's a lot of TV shows with crime scene investigators out there, taking the blood samples. That's not what I did. I was the crime analyst, the one that's in the office behind the computer, digging through lots of research and information. Not digging through research, researching through all the information that's available. So looking at, what is the evidence, what crime took place, what kind of suspect description do we have, when did it take place, what's the pattern of behavior happening, just looking at all the different clues of what's available to help prevent and also solve crimes, and playing a role that was both an administrative analyst of being able to give information to people within the department, but also working investigatively with the investigators and the police officers to make sure people have the information, because the thing is, there's unfortunately so much crime that does happen. And as I say this, I don't want anyone to dwell on this, because I really do believe that our mindset makes a huge difference, right? So we can look at what facts are, and yet at the same time, there's also plenty of peace in the world. There's plenty of abundance in the world. So okay, that was my own caveat I had to say as I'm in this part of the conversation. But okay, if you are solely looking at crime, there were literally hundreds of crime reports to read every day. And so when you've got all this that you're looking at, where was I going with this? It gets to be a lot. It got to be a lot for me. And it wasn't something I wanted to introduce into my energy every day. I think I had a different thought I was going to share with you, and it walked away. So anyway, yeah, it was an interesting job. I wasn't someone who was previously interested in crime. I know a lot of people who are very pro crime, just the TV shows and all that. For me, I was pro, like, analyzing and solving the problems and doing that kind of thing. So I really loved that aspect of it, but not so much, having in my awareness every single day the horrible things that people do to each other. I don't really care for that part.
I think that helps you be a better coach, though, like having that background, because you're looking at more intense things in people and how situations happen, so you can see better how to solve someone's problem. Like, I mean, you can help them far more because of it. And I can get that that would be a lot to deal with. Like, just thinking about all of the crime and pain and violence and all the stuff that happens when it comes to crime, that could be a lot to take in. Like, that would just leave your spirit feeling,
To me,
after a while.
yeah, to me it was very heavy. And at the time when I was doing that job, I was also I was still doing lots of courses that are, lead into all the work that I'm doing today. But one of the things I was doing is I was in the middle of getting my Reiki Master certification. And so for anybody that doesn't know, that's an energy healing modality where you're basically tuning into and aligning with, high vibrational energies. And it does require you to be in tune with what are you feeling and what are you sensing in the energy around you. So here I was trying to be open and, and be love and light. And then it's like, oh, all this, chaos that I was mentally taking in every day. So it definitely contributed to split energy within me. And I felt like I had to kind of shut off the emotions and just be in my headspace for a lot of the time. And yeah, it was challenging. But what I wanted to say is, not everyone has that same experience, and good for them, because, we benefit from having crime analysts in police departments. And hey, there might be, I think, so many others who stayed in that profession, they may do a better job at being able to regulate those things within themselves than I was. I was on a different journey. And so it was time for me to step away. But I am grateful to all the people who do, help out with reducing crime and that kind of thing in our world.
Yeah, everybody has their way of aiding, humanity. And that's definitely one of those ways that is great that we have. So thank you for doing that job for as long as you did it,
Oh, thank
because
you.
I know that was probably very hard to do. Um, Tell us a little bit about the Let Your Shine movement.
Oh, yes. The Let Your Light Shine movement. Well, it all comes back to how you started today's conversation about being your authentic self. When we are our authentic self, we shine bright. When we allow ourselves to heal from the past and whatever's been going on, we shine brighter. When we know that there's plenty for everyone around, we shine, we don't dampen our own light. So anyway, the Let Your Light Shine movement, it's something free to join. And it was just this big, I don't use this word a lot when I talk about energy stuff, but it absolutely felt like a big download. I said, what's my next thing? What am I supposed to do next? And I got Let Your Light Shine movement, and to create it like this, and invite people to join and put it out there. And so I put it out there, and it's continued to grow, not at the rate that I anticipated, but that's okay. It is there for people because bottom line, it's what's really fun for me is when I have not been actively promoting it and I see people still join the movement. And joining the movement is simply going to the website, filling out a short form and saying, I've joined the movement. That's it. There's an opportunity to take it a step forward. And I'd love to feature people on social media when they take me up on that. A lot of people haven't done that lately. But every time when someone says, you know what, Let Your Light Shine movement, I'm joining this, like that is a declaration to the universe that I'm somebody. Me and my light matter. Me and my purpose matter. Who I am, and all that I have to offer the world, whether it be in a sphere this big or a sphere that big, it doesn't matter. It's you being you in the world. It's a beautiful thing for all of us. And so when someone joins the movement, to me, it's them stepping into their power even more because they're not going to deny and be like, well, no, I'm not worthy of that. Yes, you are. Every single human alive is light, has a foundation of love within them, and they are worthy. And so anyway, I get on a little rampage soapbox with it, but yeah, that's what it's about.
That's a but that's a good thing. That means you're passionate about your movement. And that's what you need in a movement is passion. You have to have someone who's dedicated and loves it enough to want to spread it to others. Like I tell people every day that everything snowballs
Yeah.
no matter what you do. So if you're, doing negativity and having a lot of negativity, it'll snowball into more of that. And if you're doing positive things and positive work, it'll snowball into that. So thank you. Like I'm glad I'm gonna join because I like that. I really like that a lot.
Thank
So I'm
you.
definitely gonna join.
Awesome.
Let's see. What's another question I had? Let's talk about your podcast. Let's talk about your podcast.
So okay, so thank you for bringing this up. So I've been hosting the Every Day is a New Day show for since 2015. I take
Wow.
it back. It actually first was a Perk Up with Kim. That's what it was. It was-
Nice.
and then
Nice.
eventually became Every Day's a New Day. But I will tell you that the last year I've actually kind of been on a little pause with it because I have actually been hosting a panel show. Um, that was created by a friend of mine. So my show still exists and I will probably get back to that in the near future. But I'm also hosting right now a show called the Let's Talk Fabulous show. And that's been fun because it's a panel, it's always a panel conversation and lots of moving parts, and it's really fun. So anyway, but let me go back to Every Day's a New Day show. Every Day is a New Day show is all about, again, it's also right in line with everything we were talking about today, is about remembering, who you are. I say inspirational conversations about moving forward and choosing to be more of you. And when I say more of you, there once was this person who said, well, don't you mean all of you? Well, yeah, eventually, sure. But for the person who's been being this part of, let's say 10% of who they authentically are, and knowing that maybe 100% is the goal, that might freak them out. So you know what? Just be more of you. Be more, right? What's that next thing? Eventually, you're going to get to 100% and feel all of yourself. I don't know. So to me, I don't want to be too tripped up on the words, but it's just, allow more of yourself to come out. Me, when I was working at the police department, I was really afraid to showcase the part of myself that was doing a podcast, learning about Reiki, delving into these other energy modalities and angels and things like that. I thought they're gonna, they're gonna think I'm some weirdo. I was like too afraid. And lo and behold, the very last day that I was there, I actually had someone come up to me and say, "Hey, Kim, do you do Reiki?" And I freaked out because I thought, oh no, I thought I had done such a good job of keeping it hidden and no one knew. I was like, oh, good, I'm going to get to leave. And then, I'll branch out and do more. But on the very last day, someone said, "Hey, Kim, do you do Reiki?" And I said, yes. And he said, "Oh, I wish I would have known sooner. I love that kind of stuff too." And blah, blah, blah. And that was an eye-opening moment of like, wow, if I would have just shared a little bit more of myself, you know, instead of, at the time I was thinking people were going to reject me, maybe I actually would have had more friends at work. Maybe maybe things would have gotten even better. So it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like, we sometimes cancel some of our support because we think too much. Like we literally will put it in our head and block our own path forward because we're just so into our heads and we just can't get out of it. So I know what that's like because when I started this, because I'm doing coaching and stuff, I'm learning as much as I can, going to school for psychology. Like I'm trying to figure out everything I can to help people. And in the beginning, it was hard to tell people that because I didn't think they would believe me. And, that was something that I was dealing with through my trauma and everything. But once I got out of that, I saw how many people were actually rooting for my success. Like a lot of it was online, and a lot of people were just like, go for it, like get that, and like don't let anybody stop you. And I got more of the support I needed through those people just because I was sharing a little bit about myself and realized how many other people are trying to do the same types of work and doing all of the things to help all of us.
Good for you.
And, that's a thing that we all should share more is ourselves because it shows our light. Like you said, it shows all of our light and we burn brightest when everyone's lit up. Like
It's
no one ever thinks about that.
exactly. I agree. It's, and that's the other thing too. So if you're that person who is taking the action to do what you want to do in the world, and you're noticing that other people are being, maybe rubbed the wrong way a little bit, they're not so comfortable with it, um it's you shining brighter that has the potential, because if those other people choose like, oh, why is this making me so uncomfortable, what is this bringing up for me, well, gosh, look at Mark, he's doing this awesome thing, and well, I've always wanted to do this other thing, but well, okay, maybe I should start to reconsider that, or maybe I should choose to believe in myself like Mark's believing in himself, right? And
Yeah.
it's one light shining has the potential to light all the other, candles, matches, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yes, it does. Like, and who knows? It depends. Like anybody can do that. And that's an amazing thing for humans is we can all make that choice. We all have the ability to make choices. I feel like that's a very big part of it as well, is the fact that we can literally choose anything
Yeah.
and work with it to make it more than. So we're about to run out of time. Uh, I want to thank you for being on the show. I also want to ask you what is the next question you have, or the question you have for the next guest without knowing who it is.
Okay. So my question, and this is really a question for everybody, is who are you?
Mm,
I know, right? It's so
mm,
simple and yet so deep.
yeah, yeah. I don't. That it would depend on when you ask me. I think.
And that makes sense. I think, we get to know ourselves on deeper levels, we evolve, and I will add, beyond the labels that you have. It's this is, it's your answer is your answer. But I want to challenge people to go beyond, oh, well, I'm a daughter, or I'm a crime analyst, or right, I'm a wife, or something like beyond that, deeper than that.
Yeah.
Who are you at your core?
And that's something I can't believe you said that, because when I was on my journey, or I'm always on my journey, but earlier in my journey, that was a big part of it for me, was core beliefs. And like, who are you? Like, what do you contribute? And how can you do better? So like, that means a lot to me that you would say that. And also, I meant to tell you earlier, when you were talking about people getting their dreams, the last guest I had was a dream analyst. And like, literally, yeah, like, so literally the last guest I had, so I was just like, oh, the synchronicities.
I
And that's
love
another
it.
big thing. That's another big thing that's been a part of my life, is synchronicities. I started reading the book Synchronicities by Carl Jung, and
Ooh.
I started reading it and started having synchronicities to the book. And it was just amazing how that worked. But I took a sideline on that and started reading, was I have it right here, Solve for Happy by Mo Gadol. And it's been amazing too, because it's synchronizing with the other books and with everything we've talked about today. So thank you for being on the show. I would love to have you back sometime. I'm gonna definitely check out the Let Your Light Shine movement. And thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
All right, you have a good day. I like to end every episode with thank you for today, thank you for yesterday, and thank you for tomorrow. Always remember to question your reality, and at every end, there is a beginning. You guys take care. And that wraps up another thought provoking episode of What Are You Even Talking About? We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the discussion we had today. Before we go, we want to extend a huge thank you to our amazing guest. Your insights and expertise truly enriched our conversation, and we're grateful for your contribution. And of course, a massive thank you to you, our incredible audience. Your engagement, questions, and feedback make this podcast what it is. As we wrap up, let's take a moment to reflect. Thank you for today. Thank you for yesterday. Thank you for tomorrow. Always remember to question your reality, and at every end, there is a beginning. We love the journey we're on with each and every one of you. Keep those questions coming, keep challenging the status quo, and keep exploring the uncharted territories of your mind. We can't wait to dive into another riveting conversation in our next episode. Until then, take care, stay curious, and keep asking, what are you even talking about? Don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and connect with us on social media. We'll catch you in the next one. You guys take care.